Good morning, everyone. I'm so glad you're on today. It's Monday morning, and this is the Coffee Break Show. I'm Vickie Helm. We had a great weekend. We had a lot of cool stuff happen, and we'll be talking about that today. But today is Monday, and it's what in the world is happening. And I know everybody's talking about the coronavirus, and I know that's there. But I want to talk about something else that I think is so essential. I want to say good morning. Do me a favor. If you're new here, put your name down below. Let me know you, get to like you, and see how we are together. This is a Coffee Break Show. We go live Monday through Friday. And what we talk about are those things that are inspiring, that tips, tricks, tools, news, everything, what's happening in the middle of the day. We are talking about the things that matter and helping each other with our insights and our everything that comes in so that all boats rise. Good morning, Donald. Nice to see you on. Good morning, Karen. Good morning, Robin. Nice to see you on. There's a bunch of you coming on right now. So glad to see you. Listen, if you're on YouTube, welcome to YouTube Live. We go live Monday through Friday. Do me a favor and hit the like button and subscribe and hit that bell notification. It'll tell you when we go live every Monday through Friday. If you're in the Smart Life Club, thank you for being here. Thank you for being on the show. Now, today, I want to talk about something that happened late last night, because it was morning over there. Good morning, everyone, said Barb. Good morning. Welcome. Nice to see you guys on. And what was interesting is everybody is looking on that. What in the world is happening? And we have a big focus on the coronavirus. Well, there's a couple of things that happen. One is the president, who wanted this to be done by April 11th, has extended it to April 30th right now. April 30th, because we don't think, good morning, Sangar, all the way from Iraq. Nice to see you on board, buddy. Nice to see you here. Good evening on your side. Good morning, good afternoon, Stephen, and welcome aboard. Thank you for being here. Thank you, everybody, for being here. So anyway, he had to extend how long we were going to be in quarantine and things like that, and only essential personnel and blah, blah, blah. And that was cool. But then last night, and I made some notes. Last night in Germany, and I've been tracking this for a long while, Thomas Schaefer, who's the finance minister for Germany, committed suicide. And the reason he committed suicide was that he was scared of the impact, the financial impact of what the coronavirus was going to do. And so you guys know that I have a couple of TV reporters and things that are on my team that I get to work with. And I'm so fortunate for that. But what we've noticed, and everybody's noticed, good morning, Brandon. Nice to see you on. So glad you're here. What everybody has noticed with that is that in the last 6 weeks, more CEOs of big companies have stepped down in the last 6 weeks than all of history. In no time in history have this many CEOs stepped down from their companies and left. And I was talking with Robin, and she said, it's interesting to watch all these CEOs walking off their companies, things that have been priding them for years. And what was said was, she said, it's kind of like seeing the Titanic sink and then getting on the boat and getting way out of the way before it hits the iceberg even. And I was like, man, that was so spot on. The question is, why are these CEOs leaving in droves? Good morning, everybody. So nice to see you on. Why are these CEOs leaving? Why are they abandoning ship? And so I'm going to get into that. Good morning, everyone. Good morning, Robert. Good morning, MJ. Good morning, Suzanne. Good morning, Karen. So in my latest book right here, if you guys haven't seen it, it's got a new cover. But my latest book is Cash Flow Secrets. And in chapter 2, right here, I talk about the hidden cash flow crisis no one is telling you about. And so this came out prior to the coronavirus just happening. And there is the reason we discuss it in that book, the cash flow crisis, is because there's a huge cash flow crisis. And one of the things that is interesting is last year, companies are really heavily in debt. Some companies are so heavy in debt, if there is no debt, if they don't have access to debt, they'll go belly up. There's just no money in them. And what was interesting is I think the companies, the last time I looked, it was about $9-10 trillion worth of debt these big companies had. And so what I was looking at with the debt ratio is that they had no cash flow. They only had debt flow. And if you only have debt flow, you really have no business. You really have nothing. You're not going to be alive. Your business is going to go belly up. And so I'm looking at these CEOs leaving their companies right now while the time is good. So it's kind of a hint about what the future is going to be like. There's kind of evidence right now poking through where people are all talking about the coronavirus. We need to think forward a little bit, and how can we take care of ourselves in the future? What's going to happen? But I will tell you this, last year, 70%, here's the whole world, 70% of the companies that went default on loans came out of the United States. 70% of the companies that defaulted last year on loans came out of the United States. A third time, I need you to hear this. 70% last year of the companies. Now, last year, we didn't have the coronavirus. We had this uptake in this economy and et cetera. But 70% of the companies that went belly up came out of the United States. And that lets you know that most of the businesses don't have cash flow, which is, I give you a service, you give me cash. There's a lot of debt. They hang a lot of debt. Like Tesla is a good example of that. Tesla has probably no cash flow at all, but they have or they have, capital infusion, but they carry a lot of debt right now. And so when I'm looking at the suicides and the stepping away from the CEOs, I start a value and I think, what does that mean? Why is that happening? You guys are going all crazy over here. So I'm going to bop over here and have a conversation with y'all. Happy Monday, said Marie Jo. Hey, it's Monday all. Another remote week of unknown. That's right. It's another remote week of unknown. I love it. Yes. That was from Robert, by the way. Karen says, hi, Sangar. Barb says, is there a specific list of CEOs stepping down? Are we talking about CEOs of public company? Yes. Well, the big ones that are hot topics right now is Bill Gates stepped away from being on the board of Berkshire Hathaway and Microsoft. And there's a whole list over there. You can Google them, Barb. They're all in there. And there's an article, it's either from Bloomberg or Reuters or something like that will tell you how many and all around the world, how many have stepped down. And it's the most that have stepped down in history. The article's there. You can just research that. Hi, Robert. I've loved seeing the isolation antics in the Stern household. Me too. They have been fun. Suicide, and somebody's questioning that. Yes. Today's National Doctors Day. Post and tag your appreciation to a doctor that are out there fighting the fight. Yes, Robert Stern put that up, and I think that's a great idea. Here's an example, NBC News Business. Thank you. Why is more than 1,000 CEOs left their posts? So, Barb, Robin put a link to the article. Thank you very much. One that came from NBC News that's inside the link right there, so you guys can see it. We try our best, said Robert. You do your best. You're great at that, man. Here's what I'm finding on the CEO numbers, Robin. And she has Reuters, CEO step down, coronavirus, partially claim the CEOs of 19 companies stepped down during the coronavirus. So Barb put another article in there. There's so much news on this, but we have to think about the why. Why are they doing this? And why are they doing this all at once? What does it mean? And what does it mean to you? And how are you going to work around that? And that's what I want to talk about today. So, here's the link to Vickie's Cash Flow Secrets. Thank you. My book, Cash Flow Secrets, is up there. I think everybody should read it. It's so pertinent for right now. I can't even tell you, and I'm making the shameless plug. You guys, I never plug anything in my life over here. You look at me, this is the Smart Life Club. You never see me going, buy this, get this, do that, get this. I'm going to tell you something. You need this book now. This is the one pertinent book that you need right now. And you can go on Amazon. It's got a brand new cover on it. The one that you'll see has got a red cover on it. But to me, it's one of the best books you can read for right now. Okay, so lots of CEOs are stepping down. Yes, Stephen says, hey, good morning, Stephen. Who knows why anybody takes their lives? Why do they leave? Many reasons. All I can say is that they did not prepare themselves for the hard times. And as soon as it goes beyond their competence, they run away. Bill Gates not included. Yes. So I'm looking at these CEOs, and it's kind of like they're abandoning ship before the ship hits the iceberg. And so how big is the iceberg? How much damage is it going to do? How many, is it the Titanic? Is that, we don't know yet, right? So the CEO steps down are not a coincidence. And Karen, I want to say that is the most important part of this conversation right here. So I want everybody to put their thinking cap on. I wish Ryan, are you here, my buddy? CEOs step down. It's not a coincidence that they're stepping down right now. So good morning, said Jane. And Robert says companies in general are taking those loans. And I don't think they plan like a small business mind of taking money from each sale to pay it back. They keep thinking bigger and bigger. Yes, because they have access. And in fact, on some of the big companies, we bail them out when they get in trouble. They don't even have to be profitable. You realize that banks can only sell debt now. That's it. They sell debt instruments. They have no real cash flow. If they can't get you to buy debt and make that interest payment, that's it. So thank you for sharing the article, Rob. It's difficult to understand. I had a very close encounter with a loved one who committed suicide in the past year. Hard to fathom, but the cleanup of those left behind is where I decide to put my energy, those I can support. Ryan's not online yet. Okay, thank you. Stephen, this will be greater than the Titanic. Yes. So that's what I want to talk about today. What is it? Suzanne says over 1,300 CEOs have stepped down. Think about that. Now, the reason I say that's so important is because these heads of industries, these heads of business, they know what's going to happen. They know what's happening. And Suzanne says the list is extensive. So now, what does that mean? That means that we're pretty much going to be on our own. We're pretty much, when we take a look at the future, it's so unknown. But there's one thing that they have that has left them jump ship. They've evaluated the future. They've looked out into the future. And if you're a CEO, I'm thinking at some point, you must have handled obstacle after obstacle or turned a company around or, veered left and saved it. I mean, when you're in a CEO position, you're pivoting, you're getting your team to pivot, you're moving around obstacles and creating things on the side, as many as you can, etc. And one of the things that I think is happening is when you get to the point where you jump ship, it's because you are out of ideas, you are out of strategies, you are out of thinking what you can do to keep this company afloat. Essentially, a CEO who has climbed their way up there is giving up on the future. That's an interesting thing, isn't it? The possibility of them giving up on the future of their company. Now, do I think there are some CEOs that step down just because they're old and they want to retire? Yes. And they want to make it look good, etc. So what does that mean for the future? I would tell you what it means for me. I can't tell you what it means for you. I can tell you what I'm doing. I can't tell you what you're doing. One of the things that is happening right here is that your income is going to be your business. If you have been looking at a job and things like that, then your income is going to be readjusting itself. I think when it collapses, there's a boatload of jobs that are going to go there. Stephen said something here, and I want to say this too, because I agree with it. He says we need more concern about nurses and truckers and doctors and 10,000 Walmart workers walking out. And I agree with that. I agree with that because whatever the structures of those things are, those are our supply chains. And we're going to have supply chain issues. If we don't have factories rolling or running, if China doesn't have factories rolling or running and things like that, there is going to be an amount of fallback from that. And when we need to keep those truckers rolling, it's because micro manufacturing, and I said micro, not macro, micro manufacturing, that is to your local community is going to be a big deal. It's going to be that simple. The businesses that are going to be started right now have to come from mom and pop, and they got to serve that community. And sometimes that community can be online and the community can be offline. But here's what I think. I think I need both. I think I need an offline business and an online business. And you guys know what I think about online business. You guys have heard me preach it. I love it, love it, love it, love it. But I think the point I'm trying to make is I told you about the coronavirus and the lack of stuff that was going to happen in the inflation way back in January, in early January, late December, so that you could prepare. And I'm telling you this now in that way so that you can prepare. And here's the thing, right now with the coronavirus, there is not a reason to panic. It's a reason to think your way through it. You have that time right now. Most people are not working, and that's scary for them. But it's not just the company worker, it's the small businesses. They can't work either. They don't have income coming in from where they could have income coming in. And as long as the state is saying, sorry, we're not going to open this for you, you can't be here, you can't do this, then part of your income is frozen. Excuse me. So to me, having online income doesn't necessarily mean you're going to have money either. It's the type of online income that you have. It's the type of products you sell. It's the things that are A-bill types of properties and things that you can have with cash flow. You cannot depend on one cash flow anymore. You can't say, I have a job and that's our money and we bring it in. Or I have a business and I have that one business and that's all our money that comes in. You're going to have maybe like 4 things that bring you a line of cash that you're not dependent on all of them. You have like some from here and some from here and some from here. But that one thing gets me all my money. I don't think that's going to be the future. And the thing about that is you want to start doing things now for that. So I want to go back over here and read. After COVID-19, this world will never be the same in a good way. Trust it, because we have never experienced this before. I actually think that too. I want to say, I think something good is really happening. I think some of the disastrous systems, I don't like all the loss of life, obviously, but somehow we have a moment of hitting the reset button. And the reset button, I think, is a good idea. I think there's a lot that can happen there. So Joni says, we need more U.S. companies, U.S. ownership, and U.S. pride. I agree with that. I think we need more companies, more ownership. More ownership is a big deal. And more pride in our work. Yes. It used to mean that when you bought something that was made in the USA, it had quality. It had, pride. It wasn't just a pride. It was quality and excellence. It meant something that when you bought something that was USA made. Thank you for that, Joni. I really appreciate it. The following are just a few of the well-known CEOs that have resigned so far this year. Bob Iger, CEO of Disney. Thank you. Ginny Rometty, somebody bumped him up. CEO of IBM. Harley Davidson CEO, Matt Levatich. T-Mobile's CEO, John Legreer. LinkedIn CEO. Jeff Werner, MasterCard CEO. AJ Benga. Keith Block, CEO of Salesforce. I mean, that one threw me. I do remember that. A name I can't even say. Jane Time, CEO of Credit Suisse. That's right. He did. You're right. And CEO Randy Free Ryan. So, I mean, there's so many of these big name CEOs stepping down. And I think it's like right now, the time is to take the reins of any new business that you're going to take. And what do I think's going to be there? I think micro farming, number one, food production, big deal, micro farming. I think publishing, anything publishing, media of any kind is going to go big because people are going to be looking for answers right there. I think anything medical and that is cross medical, like chiropractors and Chinese medicine doctors or herbalists or things like that. I think those are good businesses in the future. But whoever is a supplier of something, a supplier of anything, if it's clothing, shoes, paper, any type of supplier you can be, that is going to be a good thing to be as well. Let's see. And I mean local because shipping, we don't know that shipping is going to resume at the speed where we've become accustomed to. And if shipping is like trucking or FedEx, then we can go ahead and do what it was that Stephen talked about earlier. We need to protect our truckers and get them out there and working and shipping stuff. And if we're doing it local, yes, that's even good as well. It's time to be an and person. This is from Robin. I like this. It's time to be an and person. Need an online business and an offline business. Get prepared for what's happening after this social isolation phase. Remember, it's only a phase. Thank you, Robin. It's only a phase. It's only a moment of time. But the damage it's already doing to the economic thing has happened. It's like right now we're saying a month. But we started in January with our supply chains being disrupted in China. It's been January, February, March, April. It's been 4 months of the economy going from, this thing to just slowly, barely moving all over the world. It hasn't been like, well, our economy has just slowed for a couple of weeks because my job or my business is closed. No, this has been going on for 4 months around the world. And we have issues with shipping food, and we're going to have issues with cost of food. Cost of food is going to be outrageous coming in there. We've got some interesting things that we can take advantage of right now and say, how can I help my community? How can I help my income? How can I help my neighbor? And it be a workable win-win situation because we've taken action right now, moving into that action taking place. Let's see, supply chains are at risk as employees protect themselves and their companies protect their employees and the public. Yes, we want to be able to see that some of the things that have been open 24 hours a day, like Walmarts and, grocery stores everywhere, suddenly are going back to the old way where they've got closing hours because they want to protect their employees from getting the illness. And the more people that get the illness, the less workers we have that are moving the economy. This is a time where you have to take and make evaluations. We have CEOs that are leaving in droves, and even a finance minister that was so upset about the future, he committed suicide. And so, maybe it's like Jeffrey Epstein's suicide. I don't know. But in this point right here, it's saying something about what they think of the future. I mean, these are industry leaders. This is what they think of the future. So my concern, Scott says, this is from Scott. Let me just roll this up. Let's see. My concern is the food supply. Mine too. And I want to make sure that I am saying this so that you're proactive, not reactive in fear. We were so proactive over here. We watched everybody be fearful. We watched everything, but we didn't participate in it. If you've gotten the information ahead of time, now's the time to act. And I want to talk to Scott here. He says, my concern is for the food supply. Dave McClellan, Chief Executive Officer of Cargill, Inc., the world's largest agricultural commodities trader, said, one of the beef plants feeds 22 million people per day. So it's vital that these plants stay open. Thomas Hess, yes, president of United Food and Commercial Workers Union, Local 401, said, there's undeniably tension, there's fear, and there's anxiety. Talk about centralization. Yes. The thing about it is we're stopping our own commerce right now to make sure things don't get sick. And that's such an important thing. One of the beef plants feeds 22 million people a day. And if it's not running, guess what? What are those 22 million people doing per day? That is such a good point. Suzanne says, and this, I want you paid attention to Suzanne right now, okay? This is proactive. She says, already bought our seeds and plants ready to rock and roll. That's what it needs to happen. Everybody needs a victory garden, just like, and we put that post up there in that victory garden where it said, everybody's about to learn why great grandma, saved her bacon grease and washed her aluminum foil. That's kind of the time we're headed to. And it doesn't take a big garden. If you've never gardened before, there's a boatload of videos right now on YouTube. Plant something. Learn that right now. It's so important for the future. Otherwise, you're going to be spending all of whatever you make on food. It's going to get very expensive on food right now. Scott, thank you for sharing with us on this platform. People need to see the magnitude of the CEO stepping down. I agree, Karen, because that says something about what they think of the future. Jane, hey, Jane. Jan, I always say, it's Jan or Jane? What is it? Tell me. I think it's Jan Goodhart, but I always call her Jane. It's Jan. Jan says being of service has taken on a new meaning these days. Yes. I want you to hear that. That was so important. Could we do me a favor and put that as the coffee cup today and say being of service has taken a new meaning these days? Thank you, doctors and nurses. Yes. Global food supply. This is from Karen. Global food supply chains will continue to move towards extinction. Local grown, grow your own food co-ops can help extend the food supply until the COVID season passes. Yes. And the COVID season, they're thinking, is from now till about, 2024, somewhere around there. That's when we'll have a grip on it with whatever medication they develop or, whatever happens there. Here's a good source of food supply info. She has put in there. Here's a good resource. You guys do your own research. Look at this. There's links for everything we're talking about today inside down below. Robin put in, here's a good resource for food supply info. And that to me is helping you help yourself see what's going on and be proactive about it right now. Stephen says, Edward Deming taught me a lot about quality process and never-ending improvements in the early 90s, and we did well up until the new generation of CEOs came in. Their main concern appeared to be more on them and not the customer. Yes, I would agree with that. I wrote a textbook on the total quality management in the early 90s, and believe me, we have taken a step backwards. I could write more, but it'll take too long. Thank you. And I agree with that. There's going to be a moment where we're going to go back in time. Some people say it's going to be the 1920s by the time we're done here instead of the 2020s. This is where we need to put our attention. That Robin put in a link for the Victory Garden, so you can actually look at the Victory Garden. You guys, thank you. This is what I mean about insights and helping people. We got people pumping information in here where you can go look, where you can go find, where you can go do the research yourself and come up with this and look at it right now. But if we've extended it from now till April 30th, it's how you use those 30 days that are going to matter most. And I think everybody needs to do what Suzanne does. If you've got a garden plot, you need to get your seeds going. It is going to be so important just to plant food. The most empowering thing you can do right now, get another business going, get a business going, plant food. I want to see if I can pull this book up a second. Hang on. Yes. This book right here was so amazing. And in it, he writes about how every family, before there were any modern anything in the 1700s, 1800s, every family had two businesses. The first one was the farm. That was a strong business. It helped them eat and food and trade. And the second was their trade, whether they had a printing shop, whether they were a tailor, whatever they did, whether they're a printer, that was their thing. If they were a blacksmith. But every household had two sources of income. And we think if two people work a job, we have two sources of income. If you only work jobs, you only have one source of income, because a job is a type 1 of income. If you have a business and a job, now you have two types of income. If you have two businesses and they're, horizontally diversified, then yes, you have two income sources. And right now, you really want to make sure your income sources are looked at. Scott says, well, some major producers have been issuing bonuses or increased pay to their workers to let them know they're appreciated. Vermont dairy farmers have been implementing other unusual backup plans. In a call through social media, they simply ask for people to come milk cows if farmers get too sick. They signed up 80 volunteers as standbys. Wow, that's awesome. Kim Mercer of the Northwest Organic Farming Association of Vermont said, it started when we got a couple of calls from a dairy farmer who were super, and dang, it cuts off right there, who are super well. Evidently, you can volunteer to make food. You could start a community garden. There's so many things we can do right now while the timing is good. Stephen is a constant source of wisdom. Yes, he is. I like that about him. Robin, thank you for sharing the food industry executive link. Thank you. Jan. I know it's Jane, not Jan, Jane. There's an E at the end. Hi, Jane Goodhart. I love yous. Let's see. If you're raised by parents who were affected by the crash of 29, this is Suzanne, bring those skills back. Remember the skills of rationing. We put a ration on our Oreos for practice. Yes, that is an interesting thing, because we have learned gluttony now a lot. We have as much as we want when we want it at our fingertips. And now we put rationing in there, and that makes sense. Good morning, said Sasha. So I'm going to say good morning, Mom. Jan Goodhart, thank you. Check out the skills of the Depression era. I agree. You really don't need to do if you have a shower. I don't know what that meant, but use your front lawn, apartment, balcony with tubs, whatever you can to grow food. And that's it, grow food. Suzanne, I greatly appreciate your proactive approach to life, even before COVID, but rationing Oreos is just wrong. I think rationing Oreos is just fine. Just no rationing of coffee. My wife, Judy, plants a garden, and this year we'll do a water garden. Ooh, hydroponics. She does a lot of canning. Yes, we do too as well. And she is awesome. Looking forward to returning to Pennsylvania tomorrow. Pray for us. Yes, you guys be safe, so safe, please. Prayers out for you right now. Rationing on Oreos? Oh no, said Robin. I'm like, yeah, you guys, we can always eat a little less Oreos. Our business is shut down. Jeremy is now working for a food production plant that will never shut down. That's correct. You got that right. I dreamed a whole subdivision in New Orleans, and their parks will become neighborhood community farms. Gardens will be everywhere. Yes, they will need to be. Don't need to. Stupid audit, correct. Okay. So I want to say that's what I have for you this Monday. This Monday, and what in the world is happening? There's a lot of CEOs moving and stepping away. And that means a lot of things. You can go ahead and evaluate that and see what will work for you or what you need to pay attention to. And I will see you for Tuesday. And I want to let you know Wednesday. Yes, Wednesday we have the amazing Dr. Joe Vitale on, and it is going to rock your world. So I want everybody to be safe, especially Stephen. And if we could say a prayer for Stephen, so that when they come home, everything is safe for them. I'd appreciate that. I love you all so much. Mwah! Talk to you later. Bye.